Hey ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to part 2 of today's lesson. I apologize that abruptly ended pretty quickly. So right now we should be going on to part 3 of the Declaration of Independence, which is the list of grievances. Now, the British government, Jefferson argued, had violated the rights of colonists. Like Thomas Paine said, he charged the king with passing unfair laws and interfering with colonial self-government. He also accused the king of taxing colonists without their consent. In addition, the presence of a large British army in the colonies upset Jefferson, as well as if colonists couldn't pay their taxes, they were on trial, but without a jury, so there wasn't an actual fair verdict. Now, the grievances stated that King George was ignoring the rights that the English citizens had enjoyed since the time of the Magna Carta, which was kind of like the Constitution for England. It's a long-standing document which pretty much said that the government isn't above the rule of law. After stating the basic principles that people have the right to abolish an unjust government, Jefferson concluded colonies are free and independent states. This is where Jefferson argued that colonies had the right to break away from Great Britain. And again, Jefferson was influenced by this Enlightenment idea of the social contract. Now, the social contract directly relates to John Locke. So please write this down, John Locke and the social contract. John Locke's social contract states that rulers should protect the rights of their citizens. In exchange, the people agreed to govern themselves. In exchange, the people agreed to be governed. So let me say that again. In John Locke's social contract, he states that rulers should protect the rights of their citizens. In exchange, the people agreed to be governed. That's the social contract according to John Locke. Jefferson said that because King George III had broken the social contract, the colonists needed to no longer obey him. On July 4th, 1776, the Second Continental Congress approved the Declaration of Independence, and this act broke all ties with the British crown, and the United States was then born. Now, there was a large impact of the Declaration of Independence, so we're going to break that down. On July 2nd, the Second Continental Congress voted on the Declaration of Independence. And remember, that was a direct response of Richard Henry Lee's Virginia Resolution. On July 4th, 1776, Congress approved the Declaration of Independence, which has since been declared as Independence Day. It wasn't until August 2nd that the actual signing of the Declaration of Independence took place, and this is largely because we didn't have communication like we do today. We didn't have cell phones or emails or text messages, so it wasn't like that. For those who signed the Declaration of Independence, they took a great personal risk because it was very dangerous to take this type of stance against the government. The statement, all men are equal, inspired many Americans and still inspire people today. And we see countries in Latin America and in the Middle East who are truly struggling to actually reach that statement that all men are created equal and that all women are created equal. And now, again, it wasn't until much later that women and minorities were included in that, because originally, when this statement was made, it really only applied to white male property owners. And a fun fact, and one that we are going to talk about periodically, and I want to make sure you note, maybe put a star or highlight it. Jefferson originally abolished slavery in his original draft of the Declaration, but it was removed in order to get approval from other colonies, mainly southern colonies. And remember, in the southern states, their economy was largely based on farming and plantations, and they needed, or they claimed they needed, slaves in order to gain revenue because it was cheap labor. That's also something I want you to make sure that you write down, that southern colonies needed slaves for cheap labor because their economy was largely made up of agriculture or farming. Now, what you're going to need to do is take out your graphic organizer. If you decide to do this digitally, you need to go to the Unit 1 folder, Declaring Independence, and open up the pink folder which says Notes. In there, at the very top, you will see a graphic organizer structure of the DOI, which you should know means Declaration of Independence. You'll also have a hard copy of this that looks like this image on the right. And we're going to fill this out together. Now, you will want to pause this periodically. This is just a refresher of some of the information that we've discussed in your homework assignment. And we're just going to put it in this graphic organizer. This is going to be a great study tool for all of you. So the Declaration of Independence had a committee of 5 members. These 5 members assisted Thomas Jefferson in writing the Declaration of Independence. Thomas Jefferson is at the very top because he was the main author. We have Benjamin Franklin, Robert Livingston, Roger Sherman, and John Adams, who also assisted in writing the Declaration of Independence. Again, and you'll see this on this is on this portion, the Committee of 5, and then over here we have the dates. So on July 2nd, the Second Continental Congress voted to be independent. On July 4th, they adopted the Declaration of Independence. And on August 2nd, all parties signed the Declaration of Independence. Part 1, as we've discussed, is the preamble or the introduction. This is where the colonists described that they felt that they must explain to the world the reasons why they were separating from Great Britain. So the preamble is going to go on the top left where it says Part 1 Preamble. Now, as far as Part 2, see we have Part 2, so this is going to go on the far right over here. The natural rights of men. It was inspired by the theorist John Locke, who stressed the rights that belong to the people at birth. This is where we start talking about those unalienable rights, or rights that can't be taken away. According to Jefferson, all men were created equal with certain unalienable rights, such as life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Again, life, liberty, and property are considered natural rights, whereas life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are unalienable rights. If the government fails to protect these rights, according to Jefferson, the people can abolish the government and create a new one. This, again, is directly influenced by John Locke and his belief on the social contract. Part 3, which is going to be the bottom left of your graphic organizer, is the list of grievances. It's a list of 27 wrongdoings done to the 13 colonies by the British government. And this section is divided into different parts as well. So we have the king's unjust use of power, the unjust acts of Parliament, which is the British government, and the warlike acts of the king. And last but not least, we have the Part 4. This is Part 4, which is going to be the bottom right, so it's going to be over here. We have the announcement of separation. So as representatives of the United States, they finally declared that they are now a free and independent state, no longer loyal to the king. Signers, again, made a promise to mutually pledge to each other their lives, their fortunes, and sacred honor, and many of them and their fellow patriots did, in fact, sacrifice their lives and fortunes in service for our country. Now, I know what you're saying is, why am I listening to Miss Young talk about a document that was written in 1776? Why does this matter to me? How does this relate? The Declaration of Independence is still important today because it signifies the birth of our nation, the country that we live in today. And it instructs free citizens and provides hope for all people who want to be free, whether in this country or countries around the world. I want to thank you all for watching. Please feel free to use this video as a study tool, and make sure you take advantage of my hints in that presentation. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys soon.